Okay, let's try this. Well, hello. Did not expect to be here in a different location. Yeah, I'm in a mystery location and we're stuck. So more on that probably in another video. But I wanted to say hello, I've missed you guys. I haven't been able to film because we've been traveling and there's just so many videos that I want to create. And today we are gonna knuckle down and tackle sentimental items, because this is something that a lot of you tell me you need help with. And I agree, in terms of like a pyramid system, you know, clothes kind of being the bottom layer, and then maybe toys and accessories and odd electronics, you know, we go up. Sentimental is really one of the toughest areas for a lot of people. So if you want to know about how to approach sentimental items in a meaningful, intentional way so that they don't completely overrun your life, especially other people's sentimental items, if you live with other people, then make sure to keep watching. If this is your first time watching me, hello, my name is Julie. I'm an occupational therapist. I have 2 little kids and I am pregnant with number 3, who's somewhere in there. And sentimental things, you know, come into our home just like everybody else's. And so I wanted to share some thoughts on what to do about them. I'm really on a mission to help people, moms. You don't have to be a mom or a parent even, you know, you don't have to at all. All these principles can work for you, but I'm on a mission to help people tackle their homes, because we're spending so much time at home. We're in the middle of this pandemic. We're limited to what we can do. And I'm really sorry about these children. No matter what I do, I've tried to find the quietest place in the house to film, and I've been avoiding it because it's very hard with kids and we're stuck inside in a freak snow blizzard and we can't take them out, and I'm not prepared. I don't have gloves for them or anything. Anyway, side note, so I do apologize for the noise. It's either New York City sirens or screaming children. Ugh. I'm really committed to helping people organize, declutter, simplify their homes so that they can focus on things that actually matter. Because at the end of the day, stuff is not important. You can't take it with you. It's not really what is driving us in this life. I want you to be able to focus on your relationships, be present, have time for yourself, have time for your spouse, have time for your kids, for your friends, and not be worried about that pile of laundry or the fact that your closet can't close or that you feel guilty about throwing things out. And so I think it's important that we continue to spread this message of simplifying, anti-buying to a degree, because it's very, very important so that you can focus on the things that are most important to you. If you're needing more support, make sure you go ahead and download my free 3-day mini course, which will help you start that organization journey. And I'm super excited because my signature course, The Organized Mom, is coming soon. So there is a wait list down below. Make sure you get your name on there so that you are the first one that's notified when we go live. All right, so let's jump into the video. As I said before, stuff is really, in the end, kind of meaningless, but we're all human and we place attachments on things, especially when it comes to sentimental items, sentimental clutter, as you will. The first thing you really need to do is evaluate what is worth keeping. And if you've watched my previous video, I'll have it linked up here about how I declutter and how I recommend that you do this in a super simple way. You can apply that same 3-step method to your sentimental items. Basically, if you had all of them in front of you, let's just say, what would you definitely keep? What is maybe valuable, because often sentimental items do have a monetary value? What is one of a kind, cannot be replaced? What is something that is very dear to you? And you have to remember that often the item is representing a person or a memory for you. And sometimes that person is no longer with you. And you have to think like, does this item bring them back? Does it replace them in any way? Is it a memory that I can cherish? Is it a positive memory? Or does it bring me joy, essentially? And when I talk about that decluttering method, I talk about the definitely category, which is like, definitely, I am not ready to get rid of this. This is staying. And then we progress to the like maybe category where it's like, ooh. And what I recommend with that is if you have space, but like real space, not you're trying to jam your cupboards, you know, to fit things in. If you have real space, yeah, maybe it can stay, but it's a maybe pile. The key thing with sentimental items though is you need to ask yourself, am I keeping this for me or am I keeping this for somebody else? Perhaps it's a gift that someone gave you, or it's your husband's sentimental thing, or perhaps it's a partner's sentimental item and they left or something happened to them. Is it for you that you're keeping it? Because really sentimental items mean it's connection with you directly. So you have to ask yourself this question, and no doubt this is hard to do. So by evaluating whether the sentimental item is really genuinely something that's connected to you, that's going to help you weed out the things that you no longer need. You also just really have to understand that if you want to live a more simplified life, perhaps you're downsizing, because a lot of people, you know, go from a bigger house to a smaller house as they go on later in life. How much joy are these sentimental items really going to bring you if they are causing you stress, if you need to store them, if you need to pay for them? What is really helping you with regards to them? They're supposed to be there to bring back a positive memory for you, and if they're not doing that, it's time to consider letting them go. And I want you to have permission, whether it's from me, but obviously give yourself permission to let these things go. Remember, you cannot take this stuff with you, and unless it has a real purpose, a real genuine connection to you, don't feel guilty about letting it go. I mentioned gifts briefly, and this is really key because we carry a lot of emotions around what others choose for us in terms of gifts, and I want you to let that go as well. If you didn't choose it yourself and you genuinely don't like the item, someone else may like it more than you. Maybe it's just not going to fit into your lifestyle. Maybe you just have a small home and you cannot house it. We all know those gifts that are so awkward. And then what do you do if someone comes to visit you and don't have their gift on display? There's a Gilmore Girls episode about this where Lorelai has to try and display something that I think her mother gave her because her mother's coming to visit, and it's awkward and hilarious, but it's so true. It's something that happens to all of us, and now especially a side effect of this pandemic is that no one is visiting anybody. So let that thing go, guilt-free, and move on with your life. Another thing that you can do if you're having a hard time letting go of something is take a picture with your phone, have a little folder on your iPhone that's classified as memories or sentimental items. Take a picture of something, put it in that folder on your phone. Be free to donate that item, because as I said, you need to evaluate, is it causing you stress? If it is, bye-bye. So when I was doing research for this video for things beyond just what I've done, one of the things came up with what happens if you're living with someone else who likes to hold on to stuff. You're gonna have to come up with some kind of compromise, which is what living with someone is, right? You're never gonna agree on absolutely everything. So perhaps what you do is come up with some kind of strategy where they are allowed a box, a shelf, a cupboard, a room even, if you are that generous and able to with the space that you have, where they can keep their sentimental clutter or their things that are not meaningful to you but are very important to them. And that way you can kind of have it all in a boundary-based box of some kind, close the door and not let it weigh on your mental health. But that's something that you need to have a conversation with. If you're living with someone and it's very annoying with all the stuff everywhere, you're feeling overwhelmed, have a conversation before it gets out of control, before you start actually just taking a black bag and throwing stuff away, and decide what is fair for both of you as you both live together in terms of what living arrangement you have and how much space you have, and how they can have their sentimental clutter somewhere else where it doesn't bother you. Another thing with sentimental items is that we do often inherit heirlooms, and whilst those are often wonderful and perhaps very valuable, like jewelry or a watch or something like that, they could also not be your taste at all. So this is something that will have to be decided upon case by case basis. You know, depending on the value, perhaps you can sell it, perhaps there's someone else in your family that might enjoy it. Just understand the basic principle is that you don't have to like it just because someone gave it to you. Give yourself the freedom to let that go and be guilt-free. And that is definitely a theme that comes up with sentimental items, is let go of the guilt. It's not serving anyone, and I want you to give yourself permission to let it go. With heirlooms or sentimental items in general, you could also find another purpose for them. You have a whole lot of pillows I've inherited from Aunt Margaret or something that were like hand embroidered, you know, one of a kind. Perhaps you can turn those into pictures instead of like bulky pillows. You can find services on Etsy and online that will do this for you. So try and think out of the box with regards to keeping bulky sentimental items and see how you could repurpose them. Just like anything when it comes to stuff and decluttering, you have the right to change your mind. And when you may have inherited something as a teenager or a young adult and now you're older in your life and it's just not something that you need anymore, feel free to let it go. Find another family member, donate it, keep maybe one of a group of things if you have a space limitation, and just let it go. Remember, if you're keeping items because of somebody else, because Aunt Margaret's coming to stay and you feel guilty that you're not displaying all the things that she gave you, that is not a good enough reason to keep something that you don't like. I'm sorry, it's just not. You have to live your own life. You cannot live your life for other people. There has to be some kind of balance. I know you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but this is your life to live, and if they were in that situation, they would be living life their way as well. And then something that I have personally done, I've made a video of it, so you can check out the video somewhere around here and linked down below, is I created memory books for my children. But you could easily create a memory book for yourself or for your spouse, for a friend, for your sister, whatever you want. And basically I have, you know, gone against all the things that I thought I wouldn't do. I cut up photographs, I cut up certificates, I put things in there to create memories of my kids' friends, or their first haircut, or, you know, their little feet at the hospital, things that I don't want to throw away. They're very sweet and precious, but they also become clutter if you don't manage them. Another thing that I talk about in that video is like kids' art, because that is just a never-ending source of clutter that comes into your home when you have children. And so getting creative with a scrapbook, it can be very therapeutic. I literally just have plain white pages in mine, and I can buy additional pages to put in there as my kids grow older, but it also contains how much sentimental clutter I keep for them. Because here's the thing, I just think about this. Once my children are older, or once my husband and I downsize our lifestyle, or if, you know, we pass away, which is just a fact of life, I don't want my children to be burdened by all my crap. I'm sorry. So I am trying to be as curative and intentional as possible when it comes to keeping things for them, so that when the time comes that they are taking on all of their stuff, they are not having to perhaps grieve and also go through boxes and boxes of our things. So I'm doing it not just for me, I'm doing it as a responsibility to my children, and in turn I hope that that teaches them also that they don't need to be attached to things that ultimately, objectively, are kind of like junk. I mean, we're not talking about valuable things or, you know, very important heirlooms from the 1800s. We're talking about stuff that people just hold on to because they don't know what to do with it and they feel guilty for discarding it. I think ultimately the rule here is to decide what kind of space you have to keep this sentimental clutter and sticking to that. If it's really just a little box to put a few things in, or just a little cupboard or something, stick to that. Don't let it overrun your life, because then it takes away the good feelings that the sentimental item brings to you anyway. And think about this, you know, a lot of the time we keep stuff hoarded in little boxes and tucked away. We don't even remember that it's there. We're not even accessing it. So it's not even serving its purpose. We are just naturally programmed to collect things as human beings. We like collections of things. And you just need to understand that so that you can fully let go of things and not be so attached. One last tip, but pretty unconventional, is, you know, a way that kind of helped me let go of a lot of sentimental things from my childhood and high school and college days and stuff, is that we moved countries. And so whilst I'm not suggesting that you do this, you could do an experiment if you want to go hardcore and really, you know, get rid of the stuff for for real, and that is, if you were to pretend that you were moving somewhere, what would you take with you, and what would not be worth the cost and pain in the butt to actually move? And then that gives you a really clear idea of what you are prepared to keep. So as I said at the beginning, if you need more support, I highly recommend that you download my free 3-day mini course that'll help you get started, and you can start to use these systems and practices to categorically declutter your home as well as sentimental items. Plus, practice makes perfect. So you start decluttering things that are a little bit easier to get rid of, and then as you get more practice, more confidence, you realize that life is not over. If you declutter something, someone else is using it, and that is bringing them a lot of joy and value. Then you can start moving up the chain to those sentimental items, which are classically a little bit more tricky. Also, make sure that you are signed up to the Organized Mom. The waitlist is down below. Make sure that you subscribe, click the notification bell and the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. Leave future video requests for me down below, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.